Hi guys, this is our 38th Spanish lesson at www.spanishfreelessonsonline.com. So I need to excuse myself. In the previous lesson I missed this. I had written it in the whiteboard and I forgot. I began with the lower part of the whiteboard and I forgot to explain all this part. So we will see this today, and instead we will see examples and sentences using comparisons and superlatives in our next lesson. Okay, so we will postpone that one more lesson, and this time we will learn what this means. Okay, and when do we use this? So we've seen that if we want to say for example, we would say big means grande, yes? Bigger means más grande. The biggest is el más grande. All that we've seen, we've learned in our last lessons, okay? But there is one more case of superlative, which is lo más grande. Lo, right? Lo is would be like an it in Spanish, okay? But it's used in special situations, okay? So, lo más grande or lo más chico, right? Lo más means the more of something, okay? So, lo más grande would be the biggest, okay? But what's the difference then between lo más grande and el más grande? Both mean the biggest, okay? So the difference is in when we use these two superlatives. For example, lo más grande would be like the biggest of all, okay? What do I mean with that? Because if we say the biggest simply, it's already implying that there's nothing bigger, right? But when we say the biggest, it's usually referring to the biggest among something we were talking about, right? And when we say lo más grande would be the biggest of all. Let me see. I think the easiest way, the best example would be if I say we use mejor, okay, or peor. Peor is worse. So el peor would be the worst, okay, as we've seen in our previous class. But when do we use lo peor? Imagine we are speaking about some hardship or something bad that happened, and then we want to add to that information. We say the worst thing of all is that, right? Or like saying above all the bad things, even the worst of all. In that case, in Spanish we use lo peor, okay? We don't say el peor, because el peor is referring exactly to something particular that you have in mind, right? The best or the worst. You know exactly what you're referring to. But when you say lo, you're not referring to something explicit. You're referring to something more abstract, right? Like when you say the worst thing is that blah 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 blah, right? Or you're telling something good that happened, and then you say, but the best thing is, and you add information, okay? That when that best or that worst that is more abstract is lo. Same thing for lo más grande, okay? Or lo más lindo, the most beautiful thing, okay? So when it's when the object it's referring to. It's something abstract, and it's not something specific that you're referring. This is the biggest, this one is the biggest, or this one is the most beautiful, right? If it's not referred to, and it's something abstract, I'm repeating it because I want you to have this clear, then you use lo. Okay, I think I've repeated that pretty much, okay? So now let's start reading this. Lo más grande. The most big of all would be, okay? I wrote most big between quotes because I know that in English it's wrong. You just say the biggest, okay? But this would be, I wrote it like this because más would be more or most, grande would be big, and this is just for you to understand that we are referring to something abstract, okay? Lo más chico, the most small of all. Lo más lindo, the most beautiful of all. So lindo means lovely or beautiful, okay? Referring to beauty. Lo más feo, the most ugly of all, or the ugliest of all, okay? Lo más feo. Feo, 2 syllables. Feo, feo. Lo mayor, lo mayor, the biggest or the oldest of all, right? Because mayor means bigger, but when referring to people means older, usually can mean older than somebody, okay? Or the oldest. So we would say, for example, el papá es mayor que la hija. That means the daddy or the father is older than the daughter, okay? So mayor, when you're comparing people, means older. When you are comparing objects, it means bigger, okay? Lo menor, the smallest or the youngest of all, same as with mayor, okay? Lo mejor, the best. Lo peor, the worst of all, okay? Also abstract. So these we've seen in the previous lesson, okay? And so take a look at this. When we use lo instead of the articles el, la, los, las, right? Instead of the determined articles, lo is abstract, okay? When we are speaking about something abstractly, the concept of the best, the concept of the worst thing of all, or the concept the best or the smallest thing. Just because it's something abstract, this has not a plural or a singular and doesn't have a masculine or a feminine either, okay? So while when you say el mejor, you can also say la mejor if you're referring to a feminine object, or los mejores if you're referring to plurals, or las mejores for feminine plural, okay? Because you're specifically referring to something, right, that you know what it is. When you use lo, you don't know, it's something abstract, so you are not being specific towards anything. Then there is neither plural nor singular nor masculine nor feminine. So this will always be like this, right? It will never be la or linda. It's just lo más lindo, lo más feo, lo mayor, lo menor, lo mejor. right? The superlative.